Sports.
Thursday night, Tampa Bay Rowdies win last week. Eureka. There's a game this weekend. And there's a face here. It's not James. It's not me. Eureka's on screen, but we don't like him. He's fine. Like, we can talk about him later. There's another face on here you might recognize from the last couple weeks. If you've been living under a rock, maybe you don't know Coach Dominic Casciato. We'll get into Eureka. I'll talk to you later. We can talk about how are you, what's going on in your life. I don't care.
That's fair.
I want to talk to Coach Dom. Coach, how are you? Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate you taking some time to join us on the well-known, everyone's talking about the RBLR Rowdies show. It's the Jameless episode this week. I'm sorry you don't get to meet our tactical mind. But how's it going on your end? You're settling into the Tampa Bay area. Give us the initial thoughts. Coach Dominic Casciato settling in to Tampa Bay. What's going on through your head?
Yeah, great to be here and just excited at the opportunity in front of me to get us back where we belong. So no, I'm delighted to be here and excited for the challenge.
That's awesome. It's awesome. You're coming from Omaha, obviously different type of city. I have a great friend from Omaha. He loves it. I've heard great things, but different vibes, different geographical regions. It's hot down here. What are your initial impressions of Tampa Bay? I don't know if you're on the St. Pete side or on the Tampa side. But what's the initial impressions of the area and how are you settling in?
Yeah, I'd visited a few times in the past. I'd played here before, I think in 2022 with El Paso. So I kind of knew what to expect. As you can see, like with my skin tone, I'm probably not best suited to this. So plenty of sunblock, a little bit hotter, a little bit more humid than Omaha, but all good. Obviously the beach and the water being close by is nice as well. So now I feel really fortunate to be here.
Absolutely. I take plenty advantage of the beach every time I'm back home now. I want to be there all the time. For context, I'm up here in Virginia now. I'm closer to Loudoun than I am to any beach. That makes me sad. I don't mind going to the games over at Loudoun, but it doesn't compare to Clearwater Beach. I'll tell you that much. Coach, you have such a fascinating coaching history, trajectory that got you to Tampa Bay. Before I hand it over to Eureka, I just kind of want to open by getting a little bit about your time in Omaha, right? Obviously, great record over there. Broke, several records, goal scoring points with Union Omaha. You had a former Rowdy over there that we loved, Steven Dos Santos, playing great soccer for a while over there too. And you're in a moment now coming to the Rowdies where we're not necessarily rebuilding. We're not as new as a Union Omaha, but there's kind of a reset happening, right? There's talks about, sales of the Tampa Bay Rays, obviously, who own the Rowdies and whatnot. We can, save that conversation for another time. But there's changes happening, right? And you're kind of at the forefront of that. So can you tell me a little bit about what it was like to change the culture of a Union Omaha and kind of instill a winning culture over there and kind of how you want to do some of that here with the Rowdies?
Yeah, I think it's a good question to start with. I think at Omaha, a really good job was done prior to me coming in by Jay Mims, who had led the team in 2021 to do the double, win the Players' Shield and also win the playoffs. So it's not like I was going into kind of a failing organisation or a losing organisation. The year after I arrived, the year before I arrived, they'd finished fifth. They had a really good Open Cup run. So I think the club was in a really good place. And I think I was just able to build on a really solid foundation that was already built. I think we evolved the style a little bit, and obviously, 3 trophies in 2 years is something that I'm really proud of, and something we'd love to do here in Tampa as well. But I think the team was in a little bit of a different spot to what we are here now. But again, I think this is why coaches take these jobs, right, for the challenge and to get teams to fulfill their potential, which I think we can do pretty quickly here.
That's awesome. Yeah, Eureka and I kind of touched base about this change, and I don't want to take up all the questions that Eureka had jotted down as well. But talking about, resources, it's a new context, right? The Rowdies, to my understanding, are that can provide a lot of, resources at this level. USL Championship, obviously a bigger market, bigger platform. What's something that excites you about this change to the Rowdies? Obviously, a big challenge when it comes to rebuilding and whatnot. But what do you think is something that this new level of resources can provide you at this level?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, and it was clear to me from doing my homework on the training facility, on the fan base, on the players that we're able to attract here, that I was going to be able to work with a higher caliber of player because of that. So I think the resources are certainly helpful. I think for me, it doesn't really matter how shiny the building is, as much as it's great to have a really nice training facility that's one of the best in the country at any level. To me, the most important thing is the players in that building. So making sure you have quality players and you have quality staff to work with those players. And I think we're fortunate to have a lot of the right pieces in place already. So I think the facility and the people and everything that goes along with it are great and give us, every opportunity to be successful.
That's great. Eureka, let me hand it off to you before I take up all of our time with Coach here.
No, we will. I will ask a little bit more about on the field stuff, but to get that maybe a little bigger picture thing, I know you had said in a previous interview that you had called around, you had talked to some people, including one of the former head coaches of the past, Neil Collins. But overall, it's the Rowdies, obviously, 50th year anniversary, one of the most iconic American clubs. From afar, when you looked at this club and now being able to step into it, kind of what's your take on what it means to take on the responsibility of being at the helm of the Tampa Bay Rowdies?
Yeah, for me, it's a huge honor. It's also a big responsibility, right? Because I think there's a lot of history there, and I think a lot of people have a lot of really strong, emotion and sentiment towards the Rowdies because of what they mean to American soccer, right? It's one of the most historic and successful clubs in the history of the game in this country. So for me to get the opportunity to be the head coach is a wonderful thing and something I don't take lightly. And I think what I can promise you guys and the rest of the fans is that we're not going to win every game, but we are going to try and win every game. And you're going to have a team that you can be proud of that will fight to the very end every time they step on the pitch. Because when I think of Rowdy soccer, that's what I think of. I think of a team that is on the front foot, that wants to get in your face, that's not going to give you a second to breathe. And I think we need to get back to that.
I love every word of that because your teams are known for intensity, final third pressure, pressing takeaways, and I think that's one of the things we've been talking about on this show for this year is that we've kind of been lacking in some of those areas that not for lack of trying, but just that little bit of intensity, that little bit to get us over the hump. So kind of initially, you've been around the club a couple weeks now, been through a couple games. What have you seen now that you think you can push forward to kind of flip that switch for us?
Yeah, I think the players are a great bunch of guys, and the players are open to new ideas. They're open to learning. They have real quality. So now it's just about, trying to push them along and trying to give them a foundation to work from, a common ground in terms of our identity and what we want it to be. And I think the tricky part about coming in mid-season is you can't teach everything in one day, right? You have to drip feed it in, and you don't have a pre-season to do that. But I think we've started with one or two elements of our identity, and those things have really started to show in the games. And now it's just about making them even stronger and then drip feeding more and more in as the season goes along.
So to kind of piggyback on that is that they sort of ran a similar formation. So for what you run three at the back, a lot of the similar things that we like in the modern era of our game. Is there like a wrinkle or something that you're able to see that you were able to maybe take what's already been established, but just maybe one tweak here, one thing there, and again could kind of push us to the edge?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I've only been in 2 weeks, and this is actually my first full week of training.
Okay.
So, there's not been a ton in terms of new ideas that we've given the guys. Okay. I think it's just about a simple and a clear message and making sure that everything is as clear as possible. Because I think when things are clear for the players, they're comfortable, right, and they understand what's expected of them. So I think making sure that the guys have that clarity, have that level of comfort, and then they're able to execute and show their quality. So I think that's been the kind of primary thing we've been trying to get across, and then just making sure we're organised defensively, making sure we have a plan going into each game on the attacking side of things. And look, I think the staff and Steve who led the charge well, on the interim basis, I think these guys did a really good job in terms of stabilising the club and getting the ship in the right direction. And I'm here now to help push it along a little bit further.
Carlos,
and I want to follow up on that because I think it's so fascinating. Like you mentioned, Steve, who took up an interim role in this transitional period. like you said, started to kind of get things back on track with a few wins after a really, shaky earlier part to the year. How much of a help has he been to you as you settle in, having someone who, is also new to the club, right? Came in this offseason, but is obviously in the position that you have now taken over, or was in that position. How helpful has he been? What kind of resource has he been in helping you settle into that role? Especially in these early couple weeks, like you said, of, not making too many drastic changes off the bat. But what has Steve been able to do in helping you settle in here?
Yeah, Steve's been a great resource in terms of letting me know what's been going on and how the group is doing, how the group is feeling, because as much as you see results and you see performances, what goes on in the locker room and on the training ground every day are things that you're not aware of, right? So Steve's been a good resource in that regard, but so have the rest of the staff as well. Stuart Dobson, I think, is one of the best goalie coaches in the business. We have a great analyst in Alejandro Fernandez. Jan Ecker, obviously, Rowdies legend as a player now.
We love him.
Taking his first steps in the coaching world. So, having all of these guys around who obviously really care about the club and want to see us moving in the right direction has been really helpful. And those guys have been brilliant, as have the players, in terms of buying into the ideas and pushing things forward.
Absolutely. And I remember when this was maybe a couple days after the announcement, I saw that Jay, you had a quick chat with Jay Retcher on the podcast live on Twitter. I was listening, and you'd mentioned a couple key players that had kind of been around for a while now at this point. A Leo Fernandez, a Lewis Hilton, a Forrest Lasso, who left to Europe, eventually made his way back to the Rowdies. That's called this place home for a long time now. Obviously on staff, you mentioned Stu Dobson, who's been here for what feels like forever as well. Plenty of folks around this club that have been here for quite a long time. And I want to focus on the players, obviously, because you're managing the squad of incredibly talented folks, guys that have so much raw talent and, hasn't really come together this year yet. So who are some of those guys, and maybe, defaulting to the Leo Fernandez's, the Forrest Lassos, is it helpful for you to have these guys who know the culture, that have been around for a while? Maybe I'm prompting you to, give me an answer here, but what kind of resource have they been like in this early part as well?
Yeah, I've leaned on them pretty heavily, not just Leo and Forrest, but guys like Aaron Guillen, Lewis Hilton, Thomas as well. Like I've leaned on these guys pretty heavily as the more senior guys who have been here kind of through the good times, and then obviously through the last little period where things have not been as smooth as we'd want. And those guys have responded really, really well. I've leaned on them to get some insight into how to deliver certain ideas in terms of what worked in the past, what's not been working now, what is working now, and just get their take on things from a player's perspective. And those guys have been fantastic, and I think really helped us get off on the right foot.
Yeah, and obviously today there was the addition of Juan Carlos Azocar as well. Always love, depth, especially at a position where we seemed like we'd been struggling a bit to have depth. What does a player like him bring to the table? What's exciting you about this kind of guy?
Yeah, one's got a lot of quality, and he's a great guy. He's a great teammate. He's someone I've tracked for a number of years. I actually tried to sign him in Omaha earlier this season. So to be able to bring him to Tampa, I think boosts the squad, makes us stronger, and he's got great pace, he's got great power, and he's got great quality. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in our colours.
That's great. You want to take it away?
Yeah, I was going to say, so he comes in, kind of projects as a very veteran presence that you're bringing in, someone you've had your eye on. But you're inheriting a club that Nico and the crew have sort of built a very young bench. So kind of how do you, when you're looking at minutes and tactics and things like that, how do you sort of balance keeping the core people that are here, the veterans that are here, but also some of the young, hungry guys that are eventually either going to be the present, if good enough, but the future of the team? What's the calculus there?
I don't think there is a formula. I think that's where the kind of art of coaching comes in. And I think with things like that, I think the messaging to the group has to be pretty consistent, because you can't treat everyone exactly the same because they're not the same people. But I think you can have the same standards for everybody in terms of everyone comes in every single day with the attitude and the mentality that we have to get better. And if we have that mentality every single day, you know, the older guys are going to show the young guys how it's done, and the younger guys are going to start to push the older guys. And I think if you can instill that in your culture and your standards, then you're going to be just fine, and everybody ends up where they need to end up.
Yeah, is that sort of, I don't know if I'm looking for a specific thing here more than just like, in Omaha, you overcame a lot of kind of adversity this year. I think there's between success breeding people moving on to at that division. Of course, people move on when you do very well. So you're kind of used to maybe a little bit of roster churn, but then some injuries, a little bit of maybe some underperformance in some areas. Not quite too dissimilar to what we're going through at this level.
Sure.
So without it just being, okay, you're going to do in Omaha what you did here, but like, have you seen or are you hoping that maybe you learned something through that process that you've gone through in Omaha that you're like, okay, I get a fresh start. I get a new chance to do something different here, maybe with some more resources, but kind of a clean slate, but a redo here.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that way. I feel like maybe I needed it. Maybe I needed to be stimulated by a new challenge.
Okay.
So I think, firstly, I think it's really good for me. And secondly, I think I can be really good for the club in terms of, you know, bringing a fresh set of ideas, a fresh set of eyes, and trying to make sure that everything we do is about winning, right? Winning at the weekend, every single week, leading to winning in the playoffs, leading to bringing home championships. Because ultimately that's what you guys want, and that's what I'm here to do. So that has to be our mentality going forwards, and that was my mentality coming into this job. Obviously, I realise we're not in a position we want to be right now. And now is a little bit of a feeling out period, making sure we have the right guys on the bus to get us where we want to be. But I think we're going to get there pretty quickly, and when we do, I think everyone's going to be very happy with what it looks like.
And I don't want to be just selfish and just say, what can you do for the team and what can you do for these players? What is sort of your personal growth pathway looking like? Like, what do you hope that you can learn and grow and use this opportunity to make yourself a better coach and a better leader?
Yeah, I think it comes back to the message I gave earlier, Eureka, in terms of my messaging to the guys is always, if you come every day with the objective to get better, and everyone has that mentality and everyone buys into that, at the end of the year, the team that you become is a pretty incredible team, right? There's almost unstoppable if you all buy into it every single day. Now, there's guys that take days off, there's guys that take weeks off, there's guys that take months off. And the important thing is that you don't allow those guys to stay in the environment, right? You get the right players in first and foremost. But I think that message is something that I live every day, and I try and be the best version of myself every day. I try and get a little bit better every day. And I think by doing that, especially in a new environment where I'm working with different players I haven't worked with before, I've got to build new relationships. I've really got to build a new way of playing with this group of players. I think just by osmosis, I'm going to get a lot better and grow a lot from this experience. And, you know, hopefully along the way, we have a lot of fun and win a lot of games.
Carlos?
Awesome. I want to zoom out just a little bit more, you know, as we kind of think about, you know, you making history in some sense, right? Being the first coach to make that jump from League One to the championship in the short, young history of USL League One. The Rowdies have kind of maybe established a trend of, you know, going and getting our guy in the midfield, right? And then we got our coach from League One as well. So that's been a fascinating thing for me to watch as a fan, obviously, and seeing as a fan of soccer in the U.S., seeing how that develops and everything. But thinking about, obviously, your coaching history, going all the way back to St. John's, which was fun to read about your time over there as an alum of Georgetown. You had some great games with them in the last few years. To your time with the Cosmos, who apparently are making their way back to the USL potentially.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Who knows? It's just so many interesting stories from your time in your rather young coaching career still. Do you feel like you've, in all those stops, right? El Paso, Omaha, the Cosmos, all the way back to the college level at St. John, so many different experiences, scouting at some point as well, right? Do you feel like a sense of, do you take time to ever kind of appreciate how much you've done, the accomplishment, and then of course like the history, the record, not record breaking, what are we calling it? The history moment, right? Sport of making that jump from League One to the championship.
Yeah.
I take a moment to reflect with me on the pod here.
Yeah, I should probably do a better job on looking back and reflecting on these things, because I've had some great experiences and made some great memories and built some great relationships along the way. But I think in coaching, if you slow down and you look in the rearview mirror, you crash into what's coming in front of you, right? So I think you've got to be focused on the present and what's in front of you. And when I retire in many years from now, I can look back and hopefully enjoy it a little bit more. But I think right now I'm just focused on Saturday and trying to beat Charleston and making sure that we get this thing going here.
That's incredible. Yeah. And I want to ask you as well, obviously you started in a very strange part of the year with some 5 or 6 away games on the road in a row. Turning the corner eventually. We'll get to that home game against Phoenix. 9 p.m. kickoff time, by the way. You should go to that if you're listening. But, it's a perfect pregame. You can take the bars in downtown St. Pete after. I'm sure Coach Dom will be celebrating out there as well after a good pregame. But talk to me about what it is maybe the excitement. Are you thinking about that at all? What's the message to the Rowdies fans as you slowly approach that first home game? And Eureka described this fan base as incredibly proud of the city, of this club, obviously very historic team, some fans that go all the way back to the 70s, right? What's the message to the fans in terms of wanting to connect with the community, connect with the fan base, and looking forward to that first home game against Phoenix at 9 p.m.?
Yeah. Despite the late start, I hope everybody's able to make it out. I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody and meeting everybody and really integrating myself in this community. My wife has a lot of family members here, so that was a big draw for us as well. So I think we already feel at home, and I think playing at home, albeit a little bit of a belated start, I think it's something we're really looking forward to. But until we get to that point, obviously you've got games on the road that we need to take care of, starting with Charleston this weekend. But everybody knows there's nothing quite like home, right? There's nothing like quite playing in front of your own fans and doing the business in front of your fans and making them proud of your performance and proud to say they're Rowdies fans. And that's all we can ever do, right? Is try and put on a performance that's full of spirit and fight and clear ideas, right? And if we do that, then I think the fans can go home happy knowing that they've watched a team that has a clear way of doing things, but is going to fight till the end, no matter the circumstances.
Absolutely.
We're gonna have a lot more questions for you throughout the whole year, so I won't say it's my last question, but my last one for this opportunity is kind of just to say, what's your game day like? What we've been getting some social media from the guys having their mixtapes and their songs they're playing. What's sort of the lock-in mechanism to get you kind of that switch flipped and into game day mode?
Kind of my game day routine.
Yeah. Is there like a I don't know, like some people play music or some people read passages or some people, what gets you from, all right, street clothes are off, the Rowdies uniform is on, and now we've gone into game day mode?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything in particular I could say. I think I spend the day kind of going through different scenarios in terms of what might happen, how it can happen during the game, and just kind of talking them through with the staff, talking them through to myself, thinking about potential subs we would make in different circumstances. So I don't know if there's any particular routine I could share with you. So yeah, sorry to disappoint.
No, it's okay. I want to peel back that onion. You are obviously a well-read coach. We all understand. We all love your tactics. We all love things. We're all excited to see what you can do here. But behind the clipboard here, I guess, is there a team around the world, maybe in Italy, someone, an Italian team you might support? I'm getting intel that I should ask you.
My team in Italy is AC Milan, yeah.
Oh, God, don't, coach. No, Dage Roma Dage, but it's.
Oh, you're Roma, okay.
I am Romanista, yeah, but it's okay. So what brings you? Why Milanese?
So my cousins in Italy are all big AC Milan fans, and I grew up in an era where they were always one of the top teams. Guys like Maldini, Seedorf, like top players were there. Obviously, Kaká, all these guys. So yeah, I grew up in an era where they were the best team. My cousins were all crazy Milan fans, and actually have a signed Paolo Maldini shirt at home, which is one of my prized possessions. So yeah, I've got the reason to be a Milan fan. Yeah,
that's awesome. One of my favorite players in the world just signed to AC Milan, so I have to pay attention to them more.
That's right.
Rowdies Fupina, the Ecuadorian left back. just awesome. So I'm going to be.
Is their first Ecuadorian?
Yeah, their first ever Ecuadorian.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to be an AC Milan fan at least when he's
There you
playing.
go. There you go.
Coach, I appreciate you taking this time. There's so many questions I want to ask you, so little time. I guess this is all just going to come with time. We're going to see how everything plays out. We're all excited for this game against Charleston this weekend. I know there'll be at least a handful of folks making that trip. Let me ask you about that really quickly before we start to say bye. The Jägermeister Cup, it's not new to you necessarily. Obviously, it was a League One tournament initially. Now it's expanded to the USL Championship as well. It's been an interesting time. It's been fun to watch. Obviously, Coach Steve's last game as interim head coach was a really great away trip to Naples that I know James and I had a blast at. It's been a really interesting tournament. It's been a fun thing to see play out. Obviously, different from the league, right? But this game this weekend is, in some sense, a must-win if you want to, make a run at this tournament. It's a great opportunity to go in there and get a good result. So tell me about the mindset going into Charleston, right? It's a game against a team who is near the top of the league, if not the top of the conference. I can fact check myself another minute. But a team who's been incredible this year with some incredible players, incredible former Rowdy and Cal Jennings up top. What's the mindset going into this game away against one of the toughest, one of the hottest teams in the league right now?
Yeah, I think it's a great challenge for us. I think it's a great challenge for us. And I think in the 2 games, that I've been here, I think against San Antonio, we played very well. We're unfortunate not to get a result. When we had 10 men, we probably need to manage the last 5 minutes of the game. They're just a little bit better than we did, and we would have come away with a well-earned point. I think against Hartford, we weren't as good with the ball, but without the ball, I thought we were pretty good and managed the game really well after going up late. So I think for us, we've seen progress, right? We've seen progress game to game. We've seen progress in the training sessions, and now it's about making sure that progress continues against Charleston. And that means going there and obviously trying to win the game. I don't think you can go anywhere and try and play for a draw or not to get beaten. I don't like that mentality. That's not who I am. That's not how I see the game. So we go there, we try and win the game, and we try and advance in the cup competition. And that's going to be our mindset going into every single game, whether it's home, whether it's away, whether we're playing top of the table or bottom of the table. I don't think you can go into games any other way.
Great to hear. I mean, as a fan, that's exciting to hear. You want to go out there and win every game. So it's easy to say from the couch in my living room. Obviously much harder when you get paid to do it. You have to go out there. So we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to this weekend. We'll have to check in at some point later on in the season or on the back end of the year when you've settled into the area. We can ask you what your favorite restaurant is. We can ask you what's your favorite beach is.
Yeah, we need a full intel report at some point.
Yeah, we're going to have to break down the Coach Dom review of the Tampa Bay area. I know obviously right now these early couple of weeks must be kind of just, full coach mode. Obviously 24/7, you want to get to know the guys, get to know the field, and obviously a bit of travel as well in there. So let's put that on the docket to check in. Leave the soccer stuff to the side. We'll
tell Jake that could be a social media thing. Is like Coach Dom reviews.
Ooh,
X and Y and Z and
there you go. See? Look, and we don't even get paid to make these ideas.
That's free. That's free advice for you,
Coach.
Coach.
Free advice. It's the social media Coach Dom, again, I appreciate your time. Can we call you Coach Dom? Do people call
you? That's fine. I've been called a lot worse. Don't worry. That's fine.
What do you prefer? What do you like? What would you like us to call you?
No, you tell me.
Besides a winner, right?
It's fine.
Yeah. It's fine. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna roll with Coach Dom for now.
Coach Dom, I'm with that. Yeah.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate you joining us. And obviously, best of luck. You're in charge of the greatest, most incredible, most close to my heart club in the world, and we're really excited to see what you can do.
Great stuff, guys. I'm happy to be here and looking forward to this journey we're going together.
Great. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. That was a lot of fun, Eureka. I don't know if you had as much fun as I did.
Let's go.
There's a lot of good takeaways there. I'm really excited that we have Coach Dom in seat now, leading this club. There's a lot of excitement. we are where we are in the league, right? We have an opportunity this weekend to make our mark, right? And make a big jump. We'll talk about that game later on as well. But yeah, a lot of excitement, plenty of reason to stay tuned to the RBLR Rowdies show and RBLR Sports as a whole. Follow us, by the way, at RBLR Sports on all your social medias, including Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. like and subscribe to us on YouTube and any of the other major platforms where you get your podcasts, your Spotify's, your Apple Podcasts. We're there, and you can get to see Coach Dom. Come on over to YouTube. You can see our pretty faces. Well, my pretty face, and then Eureka, as well as Coach. We had a great time talking with him. I think this is going to transition nicely into our recap of this game against Hartford last week, which crazy. It feels like it's been an eternity since we played that game. But
yes,
you know what? It's those weekday games, those midweek games, and then you throw in an interview with the coach later on in the week, and this is what you get. So we're a little bit over a week removed from that game, Eureka. Yeah. Let's dive into it though, because I think there's some important takeaways there. Do you want to do the quick recap for this one?
You know what? Let's do it. So the Tampa Bay Rowdies on the road again, shocker, against Hartford Athletic, kind of two teams at the bottom of the table, as you and James had talked about previously. Personally, I didn't know if it was going to be a 3-2 shootout or a 1-0 drag out, because I think both teams really needed it. I mean, at this point, we're in desperation mode for both these teams. Yeah. But your Tampa Bay Rowdies come out with the 1-0 victory, which we love. We all predicted a win. Carlos, you said it. You were the only one that predicted a clean sheet, though, which they finally got on the board. Yeah. But James and I had both thought that we were going to be able to overpower this defense. And we'll get into some of that, but it was obviously the opposite of that. So your 11 that were in net were Bandry, and then Van Kazel, Casti, Guillen as the back three, Wyke, Chrysostomo, Lewis Hilton. Love seeing him in the lineup consistently. Ollie Bassett, Bodley, and Leo with Manuel Arteaga up at the top. So first half, it was all, to be honest with you, it was all Hartford. Defensively, we got away with the first half. Eventually, they dig in the second half and they get that clean sheet. But offensively, all game, including the first half, pretty predictable, not very scary. And it wasn't until late that we were able to put one in. But we'll get to that. Basically, it's all Hartford in the first half. Good chance for Hartford in the box. A player gets free. It's one-on-one, and Ethan Bondre makes a game-changing save in net. He at this early point, it's in the first 15 minutes of the game, and we have seen this club, the Rowdies, give up a goal very quickly, and then it just completely shreds our confidence. It kills the momentum. We've come back from a couple of these. We've got home wins to prove that, but you just do not want to concede. And Bondry in a one-on-one steps up. He's the backup goalkeeper that was ascended to being the number one guy, and he earned his keep there. Even a little later, there was another great chance with a Hartford player breaking through the back line again, but thankfully Bondre, I think, was what might have been beat on this. I don't think anyone had a chance on this one, and unfortunately for Hartford, it was sent over. But then a little bit later, the Rowdies start fouling. They're I don't know if it's aggression or frustration, but Arteaga had a challenge that wasn't very good, trips an attacker. Van Kazel gets a yellow just inside the box, and thankfully the ref was able to roll up immediately with the little spray foam and was like, nope, or the little paint, and said, nope, this was outside the box. It was a free kick, and thankfully not a penalty, because again, the Rowdies were just not offensively moving the chains. But so we had three great chances that are given up that just, they either go high, they go bad, or they get blocked. And it wasn't until Ollie Bassett really in the second half, really early in the second half, Hartford has a really bad throw in and a header that's trying to go backwards or trying to establish keeping the ball, and they just lose track of it. And Bassett now creates a huge breakaway opportunity, and he makes a really good move around the keeper. He's kind of where the keeper's moved up from the very high. Bassett sort of is able to just sort of quickly move around him, dribbles it 2 or 3 times. And in this moment, I mean, I can only imagine being on this breakaway at this moment, but he either lost track of the Hartford players that were chasing him, or he dribbled it too long and he didn't want to fire. He didn't want to pull the trigger so far away from the net.
Yeah.
The only thing between the ball and the goal is air. So he either hesitated or wasn't confident or wasn't aware of what's going on, because he got caught by Beckford shaving a razor thin edge. He gets caught by Beckford just enough to force the shot away.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's just, our chat is blowing up at this moment. It was a very frustrating game that at this moment we just we're exploding. And even Bassett, and this is a good thing. So I want to pull the positive out of this moment, is that Bassett is literally, he's distraught. I mean, he is just and he's had a kind of an up and down offensive year this year. There's a lot of smoke, but there hasn't been any fire with him. And at that moment, there's just no better opportunities that he's ever going to get playing professional sports. And he's distraught. He's got his hands on his face. Manuel Arteaga just comes over, picks him up from the pitch, and is kind of let's go. Arteaga, who he himself, I don't think there's anybody else on this club that understands his frustration more than Arteaga.
Yeah.
Arteaga picks him up and is dusting him off and's yay, we're good. Let's go. And I think that's also a very nice change from earlier this season, where we had a lot of frustration, and there wasn't just everyone was frustrated, and it didn't really transfer into a collective movement going forward. But this time, I love seeing that out of Arteaga and Bassett. Quickly, immediately, as soon as he's got Arteaga in his ear, he switches direction, and now I think he was fine. Really nothing to know. I mean, it's just you're going back, you're going forth, but not in an exciting manner. I would not recommend, unfortunately, anyone to go back and watch this game if you even had the opportunity to, because when they're on Golazo, you can't go back and watch them. So if you DVR'd them, if that's still a thing that people can do in the streaming era, I don't think you would want to. Skinner, Moon, and Woobin sub in. Maybe I'll get your opportunity on this. We've been doing these substitutions right at about 55 to 58 minutes, which I like. I think
on the money.
I think you get a good 10 minutes to see the changes and the whatever, and then you can start moving the chess pieces on the board, and it still gives those players 30 minutes of game time, so they get to still play where it's going to take them a little bit longer maybe to get worked into it. But we saw some of the chess pieces move. However, the Rowdies didn't get a shot on goal until the 83rd minute, where Hilton gets the ball in transition, pushes the ball up, passes it beautifully into the box where Woobens Passius is sitting. Woobens has two defenders in front of him. He makes one dribble to the left, gets set, bang, just curves around the keeper's right hand, and it's a beautiful finish, just a wonderful striker's finish. And he did it almost effortlessly, where he gets the ball, he makes the move, he fires the shot, and that gets around two defenders and a keeper, and it's hell yeah. And finally, now you're seeing the players are hugging each other. We're all getting into it. We've broken the seal, and we've done it so late that it feels like whoever was going to get the one was going to get the win, and we did. One interesting thing to note is that Nicholas Murray of the USL Championship said that this is the sixth goal conceded by Hartford in the final 15 minutes, and that is it's tied for the third most in the USL Championship at the time of it. So they do this. They've made a nice little living losing in the last 15 minutes, and I mean, you start looking at the reasons why they're in the bottom with us, because this wasn't they're not horrible teams. It just wasn't no one broke away from each other in this match. I think if that's my overall takeaway, is that, it wasn't exciting for the Rowdies. We didn't see a tactical change or a player step up and really do excellent things that they've never done before. This was just a solid kind of back and forth, but nothing too crazy. And then one team broke through finally, thank God. But my question to you is like, do you think the football gods kind of gave us one back? Like,
I was going to say, when you mentioned the Van Kaziel almost penalty too, I was going to say we've had a lot of bad luck in that area of the field, right? When it comes to those close calls or those maybe almost calls, on another day in a more unlucky Rowdies and a time when the vibes were worse, I think the soccer gods called that a penalty for Hartford, right? Like, it was a toss-up. It was close. And honestly, not even a toss-up.
It wasn't that close. It was
pretty clear. Yeah. But it was one of those things where earlier on in the season, like, I would have been convinced that guy's called a penalty, 9 times out of 10, just because, like, that's how it felt earlier on in the year, right? Yeah. I'm not saying, like, there's nothing concrete to that, right? But I think the vibes are just a little different with the club right now in a positive way, right? You have a new coach who we just had a great conversation with. Made a new signing up top, by the way, and a soul card, which is really fun. Yeah. Like, things are happening, right, in a positive way. Hartford and the Rowdies, and James and I talked about this before this game. Hartford and the Rowdies were kind of coming into this in a very similar spot on the table, sure, but with building a little bit of momentum at the same time. Hartford had a really impressive 3-0 win at home against Loudoun United, who, last year or 2 years ago, that wouldn't have meant that much. But you're talking the third place Loudoun United team.
Yeah, they're a professional team, yes.
To an incredible start at the beginning of the year. They played good soccer this year. They're solid. There's a good gap between, them and Charleston, right? But they're a good team up there among top, 7 teams in the league. That's kind of
agreed.
Number, but they're up.
Agreed. That's a hell of a win for them.
3-0 at home, impressive, right? Then if you're Hartford, right, you have Detroit, right? It was Detroit, I believe. Yeah, you play Detroit away in the Jager Cup, who not a solid team this year, not a great team, but solid. You play them away, and you get the 2-1 win. In between that away game and the Loudoun game, they played Detroit at home, back-to-back Detroit games. And they tied against them, lost in penalties in the Jager Cup. So they've just had, like, it was improvement, because if you go back on their, record, you're looking at a lot of losses, a lot of bad draws, right? Draws against Portland Hearts of Pine, right? Not, not a top USL championship team by any means or anything like that, right?
You're talking about, they're killing it first year, man. Let's go.
Right? They're looking pretty good for League One for sure, right?
Sure.
So they were building momentum. They had something going. And you could see it, especially like you said early on in that first half. They didn't come out playing like a anywhere near last place team.
No,
Jiang was causing all sorts of problems for the Rowdies. He had
there's 3 dudes that I think played excellent games for Hartford, and Jiang Mamadou's one of them for sure.
And he's like, it felt like he was at the receiving end of almost all the chances. Like, he was not creating them. He was on the receiving end, right? He was getting those headers.
Yep.
He had that point blank opportunity against Bondre, which honestly, like, to Bondre's credit, like, the positioning there was just so incredible. There's not really much you could do if you're Jiang. You just have to throw it at the net. But Bondre made himself big. He was in the right spot at the right time. And he made the stop. Obviously, that was the stop of the game. Bondre had another stop on Jiang. I think it was a header that kind of like looped, and it was a really uncomfy save for Bondre. A nervy moment for the Rowdies fans, but he was able to push that one aside too. Note that all of that was rather early on in the first half. There was maybe a one-off chance. Well, there was a one-off chance in the second half for Hartford. It was a header that went high. It wasn't from Jiang, interestingly enough. The one opportunity that felt like it wasn't from for Hartford, that wasn't from Jiang. But it was very concentrated in that first half in terms of Hartford's offensive opportunities. So, and we weathered that storm. And it was like, I think back line looked solid. I put this on Twitter a few days ago, just thinking about the last few games, right? If you look at the last 3, even go back to, last 4 games, thinking about the game against Indy that we got that win 3-1 at home. You're talking about a Rowdy squad that in the last 3 games conceded 1 goal, right? That was, it's not, it's kind of back to where that Rowdies backline standard is, right? You've been thinking about the Rowdies getting lots of shutouts over the last several years, conceding very minimal amounts of goals. And in that San Antonio game, it was very much a lapse of, kind of judgment at the end, just energy kind of fading away, end of the game, right? So even that game, like, it's unfortunate. It's a highly unfortunate way to lose, but it's, last second kind of opportunity that you give up. I'm zooming out from just the Hartford game. You look at that, and that's an impressive improvement, right? Kind of, you talk about Steve's last game at Naples, starts to turn things around following a win against India at home. So, like, you kind of see some things happening here. 3 wins in the last 4 games. Hasn't shot you up the table by any means, especially because one of those wins is a Jagermeister Cup win, which does mean something because we're going to talk about that tournament again in a little bit. But obviously, only 2 of those games being league wins doesn't shoot you up the table by any means, right? So you up ahead of Hartford. Hartford draws against Rhode Island this weekend, so they're still behind us, despite having that game in hand. 13 points to our 14 points. Yeah. But if you jump ahead to that second half of this game, zooming back in to the Hartford, they're like you said it. I think you said it best. It's not a game worth rewatching if you're just looking for entertainment or anything. Like,
no, it wasn't.
There's some tactical notes. It's interesting to see that Moon and Bodley were on the field at the same time again for the first time in what feels like forever for an extended period of time. Yeah. Moon then in like the 50, like you said, the 53rd minute with all of those guys, including the goal scorer, right? Yeah. Woos Pasillas. And you had Moon and Bodley in for a good chunk of the game. Personally, I would have assumed that kind of comes with a bit more offensive prowess, a bit more attack on the wing, a bit more danger, and a bit more speed on that right side. Better crosses, but it really didn't lead to all that much. Not that we didn't have the ball or anything, because we had some good amounts of possession, right? 44% possession overall in this game. In the second half, Hartford actually controlled the possession a bit more than it did. In the second half, they controlled it a bit more than it did in the first half. But even the commentators were talking about how it hasn't really led to anything. Like in the second half in particular, they had more possession, but they didn't do anything.
Nothing in the second. Well, and part of that's our defense, but yeah, they
exactly.
They had no chances.
And that's what I'm saying as well. Because you come in you bring in Pasillas and you replace Arteaga with Pasillas. It's an interesting note because we've played a lot of this early middle part of the year, with 2 strikers up top in Woobs and Arteaga. Now you've seen a couple of games where we're having one or the other, and then Leo Fernandez kind of in that attacking part behind them. So you're playing with one striker, you're kind of loading up a bit more in that midfield. And I think that makes it a bit more difficult for a Hartford who is already struggling to produce offensively. I think it makes it a bit more difficult for them to kind of establish any offensive fluidity, right? You had that beginning kind of burst of chances, a little bit of momentum that they rode with. And after that, midfield is just crowded. You have a good kind of central part of that midfield in Crisostomo and Hilton that know how to keep their structure and in doing so defend really well. You're not letting a lot of big opportunities get by you, with the exception of that point blank save at the beginning that was kind of a part of that early momentum for Hartford. I think overall, it's hard to ignore, right? If you ignore like the offensive part for us, which there wasn't much of, improving, right? Structurally sound, got a shutout, our first league shutout of the year. That's not something small, even if it is against Hartford. Hartford scored 3 goals against Loudoun, 2 against Detroit, beat Detroit. Like they've scored like a good amount of goals in the 3 games leading up to the Rowdies, right? I don't want to do the math right now. I'm too tired. But they're figuring things out, and the Rowdies, I think, were able to come in and carry that load of momentum that we were building into a win, right? Even if it wasn't the most exciting game, even if it wasn't the most offensive production. In fact, 1 shot on target the entire game is kind of crazy. Mob says we had 0 big chances in this one, because even that like shot from Pasillas, which by the way looked so casual. I mean, he looked so like easy about it.
Yep. Yeah.
That wasn't like a a guarantee by any means. I mean, it was just a beautiful little touch, and that's what he brings to the team too. So that's why we like to have him around.
Yep.
So takeaways. There's another shutout for the Rowdies. That's big. That's really big. You need to get these wins, obviously, to kind of move your way up the table, and that comes with some goals, hopefully.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing about bringing in a guy like Dom Casciato is that that's kind of what we brought him in to do, right? The defensive part's already kind of there, and you can kind of build on that. We know we have a solid back line that just needed to find their rhythm. The attack needs a little bit of playing around with and tinkering still. He likes to play that high press, which we saw almost producing results in San Antonio, produced a lot of turnovers. You saw it almost produce a goal and an Ollie Bassett turnover, right? So it's coming along.
To me, yeah.
You bring in Casciato to kind of create that offense, right? And we talked about that with him earlier on, right? It's only his first full week of training, actually. It's only his second week here with the Rowdies. It's going to take some time to implement what he wants to see with this squad, right? So long-winded way of saying this early part is still testing some things out on his end, but not really, because he's still really just kind of running with what we've been doing with Steve. And before that with Robbie, right? The reality is that we haven't really changed all that much from the beginning of the year in terms of tactics or formation or, who we play. We kind of just been tinkering around with how many strikers we have in. Is it one? Is it two? Do we throw Leo in there? Having Leo back to full health is nice because we can kind of we have that option to have him play behind a striker now. So that opens up some opportunities to tinker with things for Dom. So, but again, this is all about for him settling in and hopefully stealing a couple wins while you're doing it. And eventually, I hope sooner rather than later, but it takes some time, obviously, eventually implementing your coaching philosophy, that attacking philosophy we know he likes to have, so that the season isn't a wash, right? You still have plenty of season to play, and you're stealing some wins against Hartford away. You have opportunities to make things happen, right? The back line is there for it. The talent up top is there, but you're still tinkering around. So we have to figure out what works. He has to figure out what works. That's the challenge for him, obviously. And that's why, they pay him however much we pay him to make it happen. So, I think that's a big takeaway from the Hartford game. We in some sense, stole a result, but impressively, I think, left there with a shutout, which was not a given by any means at any point this year. So,
they earned it. They earned it.
Building something from the back to the front. We're building something. Yeah.
Which I think is key. Carlos, who's your man of the match?
I went with a cop-out answer. It's easy, but it's fair. It's Wubens Pacias because he got the goal. And it's the goal that won us the game. So that's pretty easy for me. One shot on target, one goal. It's not, it's an incredible conversion rate. You want him to get more of those opportunities and have, more shots than that one on target. But hey, the goal's the goal, and we got the win. So he has to be a man of the match for sure.
James Knowles, the intrepid reporter, he picked Ethan Bondre, which I can't disagree with that. The most impactful moment of the game was Ethan Bondre saving that goal. And James would be the first one to say that a save like that is worth a goal on the other side. So Ethan Bondre absolutely had -1 goals attributed to Hartford because of his play. So thank you for that. For me, I agree with you. The defense was the point, and I believe that this is the turning point. The way that we're going to create offense is by reigniting the suffocating, hellscape that will be the midfield and the back line of the Tampa Bay Rowdies. If you get past the press, and then you have to fight Lewis Hilton in the midfield, and then if you somehow get through that and you get to a back line which has been reinvigorated, I think they did give up some opportunities early. Don't get me wrong. I was quick to point that out, and that was a turning point. But for the rest of the match, up to and including what even Coach Dom said it when we scored the goal and we were able to hold on the last 10 so minutes of the game. It's because of the back line, and that's why I gave Aaron Guillen. I thought Aaron Guillen had a phenomenal game. I think it's one of his best games of the season, hands down. I think, look, and I'm the first person to kind of say that, we had a kind of a decrease in ability last year, but we were thinking that it was an injury thing. Then we came into this year, and even frustration all across the board, but none more than Aaron Guillen, who he would say it to your face. I mean, he did. He'd tell me in the post game, about that frustration and what they're trying to do to fix it. It wasn't for lack of trying, for sure. However, this back line, they figured it out. Aaron Guillen was a standout performer, and has been, I think, for a month or more now, which has shockingly, or maybe not, coincided with this bounce back kind of run that we're getting to, where we haven't dug ourselves completely out of the hole yet, but it isn't tragic. We are pulling results out. We're getting things going. We don't have every 50-50 shot going against us. And I think that some of those were because of, or some of those 50-50 chances were against Aaron Guillen earlier. There was a penalty and all this kind of stuff that was looking up. And Aaron Guillen, the captain, did it. He figured it out, and he's my man of the match.
For sure. It's a great choice. Bondre, great shout as well.
Man.
James. Giving us his man of the match from across the Atlantic. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's Hartford. I mean, let's not talk about that game much more after that, because it was boring. It was a tough watch, but Woops obviously gets that goal to get the win. That's the most important part. So when it comes to the big picture, you're going to zoom out and you'll see a green box next to that game on the results. So that's all you really need to know.
Carlos, what helps get over those very those very, very uninteresting games? When you're able to go into your closet and you see some dope merchandise like this hat from RBLRsports.com. And if you go to shop.rblrsports.com and you look at all the stuff that we've cooked up that's about that celebrates the fandom and what it means to be a fan of these Tampa Bay teams, it's all the stuff inspired by the Rowdies and the Sun, who just won a championship, and the Bucks, who are celebrating their 50th anniversary because they're late to the party. They came 1 year after the Rowdies. The Lightning, all these things, everything in Tampa Bay, we've inspired these designs to get some cool stuff that you can save 10% off if you put in the promo code COYR. You're going to get, if you want a hat, if you want a shirt, if you want all this stuff, you get 10% off the whole shebang with COYR. Link, as always, is in the description, or just DM me, and I'll if you have any questions, I'll be your salesperson through the whole. I'll be your guide through the locker room of the RBLR shop. How about that?
There you go. Yeah, go check it out. It's cool stuff over there. By the way, Bucks in their 50-year anniversary produced some incredible jerseys. Do you see those retro?
The white creamsicles?
Yeah.
Sun. Yes, they are fire. Yeah.
Great competition on the uniform front between the Rowdies and Bucks for who produced the best throwback uniform. I almost said kit. Doesn't really apply to the Bucks, but you get what I'm saying. Throwback jerseys. They're fire. Bucks, Rowdies. I hope the Bucks fare better in their throwback jerseys early on, and we're not struggling like that and like the Rowdies are. But hey,
slight digression. The Lightning play a Stadium Series game at Ray J this year. We were like
Gasparilla weekend, by the way.
And it's Gasparilla. So we were like, do they go Gasparilla themed? Which, yes, 100% yes. Well, 99.9% yes. But is there a small chance that they go like really wild and they do like a it'd be pirate theme, but we're talking like creamsicle pirate theme.
Ooh. We do hoops for the Rowdies.
Oh my God! If you did hoops, you get hoops on the sleeves. They're creamsicle and white with red accents. They get the Gasparilla with the
swords.
With the what are they called? There's a specific sword. Cutlass. It's a cutlass.
Yeah.
There's two cutlasses with the bone and with the come on.
I see the vision.
We can do that. Yeah. There's a 0.01% maybe.
Speaking of pirates, that's where the battery name kind of comes from. Cannons, battery.
Fire. This dude, fire. Let's go.
It took me like a season to actually learn that, by the way. I totally ignored that the whole logo had cannons on them, and I just assumed they were talking about like battery. But no, Charleston Battery, cannons.
You mean like
forts.
copper top? No.
Yeah. There's forts. They're on the coast. They had cannons on them, and it applies. It makes sense. It's a cool logo. They're in first place in the league, Eureka, but they're in last place in the group in the Jägermeister Cup.
Bottom dwellers, bro.
Make of that what you will. Maybe they're not taking the cup as seriously as they're taking the league.
Not at all.
I mean, they've. You look at the rosters they've played with, the 11s they've played with in some of these games, though, especially against Naples, they had most of their starters in. I don't know. Maybe the players kind of check out of this tournament and they realize, okay, at some point you realize you can't compete, and there's not really a reason to throw in your starters when you're tied with Louisville at the top. By the way, having an incredible year, both of them are on 41 points at the top of the league. For context, the Western Conference leader has 29 points.
But they've been beaten up. Hartford's, Tampa Bay, like we've been giving them results, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's two of them with 41 points. It's impressive. They're good, and it's clear to me that there's more of a priority. Well, obviously at this point they're already knocked out of the Jägermeister Cup. By the way, they can't advance. It's evident to me that they had been putting more of a priority on the leagues. So they're competing in that very closely with Louisville for first place in the Eastern Conference. Mm-hmm. That being said, how are they going to come out in this game against the Rowdies? I'm fascinated. They have nothing to play for here. They have been on a pretty tough stretch. They're not playing any midweek game or anything like that. It's a Saturday game against Miami last weekend, Saturday game this weekend against the Rowdies, and then a Saturday game, here's the kicker, away to Louisville the weekend after the Rowdies.
Yeah.
It would be my assumption that we see a bit of rotation in this Charleston squad, not fully, because again, you want to keep the guys fresh. You want to keep them, playing games against good opponents. I don't know. You want to keep them fresh. You don't want to keep them sitting on the bench too long. I wouldn't imagine you see Cal Jennings just like not playing this one, for example, their top scorer, right? Like, but they also have to go away to the top team in the league right now. Well, they're tied for the top team in the league right now. So I'm fascinated to see how they manage this game in terms of their roster, right? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about who plays for them right now in their 11, who you could see. But keep in mind, this is their starting 11 against Miami in the league last weekend, okay? Yeah. And this is their best 11. You have Zamudio in net, Mark Segber's at right back. You have Graham Smith at center back, Aku Punonu, I think is how you say his name, at center back as well. He got a goal against Miami. He's a solid header threat. At left back, you have Nathan Dos Santos, Emilio Icaza, and Aaron Malloy, of course, a really impressive dynamic duo in the central part of the midfield. At the right wing, you have the guy who's given us so many problems in our time against Charleston. Juan Torres, in the last couple of years, has been living rent-free in my head. We talk a lot about Aaron Malloy. We talk a lot about Cal Jennings, a lot about last year. You talked a lot about oh my God, what's his name? The young kid who broke all the records. I'm literally forgetting his name. Goal scoring record.
Wow. That left Markanich or
Markanich. Yeah. Why am I blanking on it? Yeah. Markanich. He was the most talked about, but Juan Torres was right behind him in terms of danger, effectiveness, goal scoring. He scored a banger against us at home last year. In between him and Arturo Rodriguez, you have Rubio Ruben, the veteran Guatemalan, 29-year-old in the central attacking kind of midfield part, playing a Leo Fernandez type of role. He's been solid this year. He's settled in nicely with Charleston. And of course, the former Rowdy Cal Jennings up top, who has 11 league goals on the year. He hasn't lost a touch by any means. And then the thing with Charleston is they have a solid bench as well. I mean, they have great pieces they can rely on. This is why I'm kind of expecting, if I'm Charleston, I know you don't necessarily love the Rowdies. I don't think there's a big enough rivalry here to where you're going out there and saying we have to beat the Rowdies and keep them from going into the next round of the Jägermeister Cup or anything. I think this is where you could see a Jackson Conway getting the start for Charleston. Obviously, a really, really impressive young striker, but he hasn't really gotten many minutes this year. He's got 21 minutes in league play, 5 appearances overall. But we know he's an impressive striker. He had an incredible trajectory when he was playing with Atlanta United too. We knew a lot about him. Scored some bangers against us as well with Atlanta United too. And he made plenty of appearances with Charleston last year. So I would assume if there's a game to get some guys some minutes like him, it would be this one. Because in the league play, Kyle Jennings is too hot to not keep him in at all times. At the same time, you have Leland Archer as well, another center back who can kind of rotate in, I'd imagine, for this one. MD Myers, we know really well. Christian Allen, another defensive midfield. They have a lot of great guys on the bench that I would imagine you see some rotation with for this game. What that looks like, I'm not sure. But I would be highly surprised if you see the 11 I rattled off to you be the 11 you see this weekend, which I think, again, for the record, I think that's their best 11. So, again, am I wrong, Eureka? Are you frozen? Are you back over there? I know we've had some Eureka lag.
My lag is very bad. I'll edit this out, but yeah. So, what was your question?
What thoughts? Am I wrong? Am I right? Are you going to see some rotation out here this weekend, or am I kind of just BS?
Oh yeah, I think you're rotating the hell out of it. Like I think that you ask yourself, do I want to play Conway? Do I want to play Jennings? Do I want to play Segbers? Because they can put, like you said, those young guys. But if you look at what they took to Georgia Tormenta, like Garner was in net. Jennings did play. Arturo Rodriguez played. Icaza played.
Yeah.
But they started Ortiz, 17-year-old left winger. They started Archer. They started Husu. They started Blackstock as a right back. Now they subbed a lot of these guys out at 45 and such. But I think that's what they're going to do is they're going to throw out maybe one or two. Maybe one striker, one midfielder, one backline guy that are starters. Fill the rest of it with the cup guys and the bench. Basically, see where it goes after 45 minutes, and if they want to pull out the victory and throw then you can put a whole roster's worth of people on in the field in the second half. Yeah. But I think their goal. They have nothing to play for in the cup other than be a spoiler to the Tampa Bay Rowdies. And I think that's not enough to throw everything lock, stock, and barrel at the Rowdies for 45 and see where it goes. I think you go the other way. I think they, because this is what they did against Tormenta. It's like, all right, well, throw out the guys, see where it's at after 45, hold on if you can to a draw, go to PKs, or, if you want to go win. But I don't think it's going to be from their perspective. I don't think this is a game they get up for. Us, I think, is absolutely the perfect time to have a game in the cup where there are stakes. We need to get this win. We need to move on. We need to score. We need to earn points to move on. Like even a draw is not good enough in some scenarios for us to move on to the next round into the knockouts. So, plus, just as a team looking and searching for an identity, we have a brand new coach. It's his third game. Even he just told us for 30 minutes that it's one day at a time. It's figure out where we can go and how we can get better today than yesterday. There's no reason for us to do. We've had 10 days off. We've had all this time to heal. There's no reason why we don't go fully loaded 11, maybe with Arteaga in net, maybe. Yeah. I think maybe that's the change you make. Maybe Lasso starts, just because if you look at Van Kazel or if you look at Casti and you decide one of those people need to sit, you maybe make that thing. You have a brand new person you just brought in. They've been here. This is their first week. Do you put them in the lineup if it's a guy he's been coveting so long? Does he get a chance to get real minutes in live action? That's an opportunity maybe for him to come in and maybe there's a little bit of change. But to be honest, as far as the commitment to winning, not that they don't try to win every game, don't get me wrong, but like where you're using every available resource. This is a game that I think you do if you're the Rowdies. You have no luxury. Like Charleston has the luxury of taking this week off. Yeah. It means nothing to their championship. They're out of this cup. They cannot win it. There is no benefit other than internal pride, which is exactly what the Rowdies need to cultivate. The Rowdies need to cultivate a winning identity. They need to create a new forceful defensive push forward. They need to find something that works offensively other than just going out to the left and praying that you can get into the third. Like, yeah. There's so many more questions than answers with the Rowdies. They have to throw. It wouldn't make sense to start all the young kids, because if they're good, that just gives you even more questions than answers about like who should be starting the league games that we're still in the hunt to make the playoffs. Like we're not that far out as much as we talked about the top. Yeah, it's still a dogfight for those last couple spots. Like any one of us, including Hartford, could get hot at the right time. So for so much to happen, that's I think a big difference in where we stand versus where Charleston stands. So for sure. Or maybe I'm wrong and they throw everyone at the table, but even better, then we get to beat Charleston with their full 11.
There you go.
In a thing where they didn't have to do it, but we had to, and hopefully we come out on top. So.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like, and again, the Jägermeister Cup is interesting in terms of the tiebreakers, kind of how they, as a refresher, group stage winners, all of them advanced to the next round. Obviously, draw happened recently, and it was determined that our group 6 would play the winners of group 3. In first and second right now in group 3 is Indy and Birmingham. Okay. And our group winner would host that matchup in the quarterfinals of the Jägermeister Cup. So hypothetically, Rowdies go out to Charleston, get a draw or a win, and a draw, maybe that gets you into first place.
Maybe
some things to talk about there in a second. A win guarantees first place. Let's say they get a win against Charleston. The Rowdies would be hosting either Indy or Birmingham in the quarterfinals of the Jägermeister Cup.
Okay.
If the Rowdies draw, that's when you kind of get into this question territory, especially with how strange the Jägermeister Cup is with the penalty aspect of, if you draw, you get a point, win or lose in the penalty shootout.
Right.
If you win the penalty shootout, you finish with 2 points. You get the extra point, right? Greenville Triumph is 1 point behind us, and they play against Naples this week.
Yeah. They could put some, they have a +2 goal differential, could put even more on the net against Naples.
Right. So you're looking at a game where it'll be a tough game for Greenville. But again, Naples doesn't really have much to play for here.
Right.
They're going away to Greenville. I think this is a game where Greenville's probably going to come out with a win, if I had to guess. Naples basically knocked out. There's like probably some crazy math that works for them to get in, but virtually impossible. And they're focused on League One. They're trying to climb their way back up. I would imagine Naples kind of works some rotation in here and throws the game, for lack of a better word. Greenville gets a win, let's say. Yeah. In that case, Rowdies, let's say Rowdies draw or lose. They finish in second, unless Miami gets a win. Again, there's lots of movement.
Miami plays Tormenta, which they could absolutely beat.
Yeah, so there's a lot of movement potential here. If you go down to second place and the wild card, quote unquote, determination comes into play, that gets interesting as well, Eureka, because you're going to have a lot of teams with similar points, I would imagine. After 4 games, a lot of teams are going to have 7, 8 points in second place, right? Yeah. If you're tied in total points in the group, the next tiebreaker is goals in group stage play. The Rowdies have scored 7. If you look across the board here, that's on the upper end of goals in the Jägermeister Cup. So it's just like there's a lot of interesting moves here. Yeah, and the top 2 second place
6. Miami has 6.
Yeah, the top 2 second place teams get into the knockout rounds of the Jägermeister Cup, and then play away to whoever wins those groups. My point is, you could sneak in here in second place it's possible, right? Because the Rowdies actually have a pretty good amount of goals scored. But the only way to guarantee anything is going into Charleston and getting a win. So I would assume that's what Dom is, going in and trying to do. Obviously, you talked about in his interview earlier how they want to go out and get all the wins. Obviously, they're going to fight for every game. They're not really playing for any, not playing for draws in any case necessarily. So that's good to hear. It'll be exciting. And like you said, we talked about this rotation that Charleston might have. I think it opens some opportunity to go in there and, give it a full 90-plus effort and go out there and get a win. Again, especially because there's not like a weekday game this week or anything. You have a full week of rest after that. Well, full week of rest, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
The next game's not till the next weekend. Again, away to Indy in that case. So it'll be interesting. I think we have a great shot because of some of this rotation. I think we'd have a great shot regardless of rotation, but that's just me. But I think because of this scenario in particular, the Rowdies have a good look here. Take a look at if you're curious, you can just go ahead and look up like Jägermeister Cup group stage tiebreakers. It's interesting. There's a lot of really kind of weird quirks for that second place tiebreaker.
Yeah. It feels real NASL, like old school NASL. Like,
if you, God forbid, Rowdies end up at second place this weekend, we'll have to keep an eye on the amount of goals.
I know. Isn't that awesome?
So it'll be interesting, but it's an opportunity to go out and get a trophy.
Yeah.
Or continue fighting for a trophy, and I think we'll have a good opportunity to get a win here. So that's maybe leading into my prediction. But Eureka, what are you thinking for predictions here?
So I had one thought, and then as we've been talking, I have a different thought. So, I don't think Charleston's bringing their A squad to play a whole 90. I think that, and because of that, and because of everything I said before about how we have to, for no other reason that this is another opportunity, win, lose, or draw, to get more film, to get more reps, to get more things in the Casciato system. It's just more and more and more that we need, win, lose, or draw. But they're also in a position to win. So it's like this means something to us. So it's just click, click, click. I think the Rowdies win 2-1. They go on the road, and I don't know if they score too early and give up one late. That doesn't mean anything. That seems to be the thing, or if it's more of a 1-1 draw into halftime, and then they empty the bench, we empty the bench, and then we pull it out late. Like, that would be entertaining. It'd be frustrating, but it would be entertaining. But either way, the other way I was thinking was if it was everyone pulling out, that we would have won anyway on PKs. But I think we win 2-1. That's where I'm changing. I'm changing it from a 1-1 win in PKs to a 2-1 straight up win. That's what I think is going to happen.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you switched up, because that was originally my prediction: a 1-1 draw and then a win in PKs.
Okay.
So interesting, because that would take us to 9 points. Hypothetically, let's say Greenville gets a win against Naples. They would also be at 9 points. It's weird. It's quirky. It'll come down to goal differential.
Yeah. But that would knock out Miami for sure, because they can only get 8 points. Is the highest.
In that case, you'd be hoping Greenville just wins by like a single goal.
Right.
I think this will be really interesting here. I mean, it'll be really interesting. There's a lot of games happening at the same time this weekend.
Yeah.
It feels a little playoffy, and I think
that's good.
A lot of teams are invested in this tournament. It's not like a throwaway thing, which has been really fun to see.
Yes.
So, keep an eye on this. So, that's what I'm going to go with. Did we get a prediction from James across the Atlantic?
Nope. He's too busy hanging out, having a great life.
All right.
I'm jealous.
Let's quickly jump into extra time. We talked with Coach. That was a great time.
Yep.
Obviously wishing him all the best, because he's in charge of my favorite team in the world. Best of luck to him. We're looking forward to an incredible win, hopefully, this weekend. We signed Juan Carlos Azocar, by the way. Let's just mention that one more time. 29-year-old striker from Venezuela. He has a lot of talent on him. Good family friend of mine remembers him fondly from his time playing for Táchira in Venezuela. And he's got some good moments. I mean, he had a great run with, Oakland, most notably, 10 goals in his games over there in 2022. Wasn't able to put a lot of goals in the net between his time in San Antonio and Phoenix. 23 and 24, and then spent this past this current 2025 season, he's been at Portuguesa FC in Venezuela, where he's notched 2 goals and 2 assists in 10 games. And what's actually a pretty competitive league down there in Venezuela right now, by the way. So I think he's the guy who's going to compete for a starting spot, but I think more than likely you have a veteran depth piece right here, which will be interesting, especially if we're still tinkering with how many strikers we're playing with at the same time. You have 2 strikers in at the same time. Asokard's a great guy to bring off the bench. He's got great pace, strength on him, and a good finishing touch. So he can kind of like surprise you with a random, being in the right spot at the right time. I think he has a few bench goals in store for us this season for sure. So I think we could see some good stuff out of him, good super sub action from him for sure. You got anything else to talk about in extra time? Do you want to talk about Asokard anymore? Anything else to add?
No, we'll see what happens. In the past few years that he's been in the USL Championship, he kind of has the same profile where, like you said, he'll create chances, he'll shoot the ball. I don't think he lacks for wanting to put the ball towards the net, which I think is good. Very, very aggressive defender. It's more quantity, not quality with him. He won't win every tackle, but he'll get into the mix. He'll block. He won't foul that much. He will recover. He will do all these things. He gets yellows, but sometimes that's not a bad thing. But he's aggressive in that end, aggressive with the pass, with the shooting, but not. He doesn't have like a skillful passing ability, I from what I've seen in the numbers. I've never watched play.
But it's interesting too, because and you look at the numbers, it doesn't jump out to you as insane, with the exception of maybe the Oakland season where he had a really good goal scoring season.
He scored so many goals for Oakland.
He had 10 across that season. Just a solid.
That was 3 years ago though.
Right. Yeah. But you're also talking about Dom Casciato explicitly, and he said this in an interview, and he said it in the Rowdies release I saw on the website earlier. They had been kind of hunting this guy down for a while.
Right.
Tried to sign him in Omaha, didn't work out, obviously, and obviously was able to finally get him over to his squad with the Rowdies now. So I have a lot of belief in Coach Dom. Even again, it's very early on in his time with the Rowdies, but he's proven to be a great coach with his time in Omaha and assistant coaching roles before that. So I am curious to see what that extra bit that Coach Dom sees in him is. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not necessarily the incredible goal scoring numbers, although he's going to have some goal scoring off the bench for sure. I'm excited to see kind of what he brings to this team outside of that. So, we'll keep an eye out on him for this weekend potentially. He's been training with the Rowdies all week.
Personally, it's one of those things. I think the last time that I was on the show, we talked about the problem that we had was we didn't have a middle of this roster. We either had names that that have won hardware and trophies and personal accolades, and then you had a bunch of untested teenagers with great raw potential, but you can't play these kids all the time because there's going to be roller coaster ups and downs. We didn't have this middle ground of proven solid guys with gas in the tank that don't need to play 90 minutes. They need to play 30 minutes. They need to play 45 minutes, and they need to have a 1 or 2 just excellent skills to either keep these guys at the top of their game, teach these guys how to do something that you have to overcome this boss to get into the middle of our roster, or just be solid depth pieces. It's win-win if you can have a good middle part of your sandwich in your roster of guys that don't need to be superstars, but you can't turn your back on them, and they're going to push everyone in the roster to earn their spot. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
You mentioned middle part of your sandwich. In this case, we're talking about middle part of an arepa right now. We got 2 Venezuelans in the attacking four. Bring out the arepas. Go get yourself your favorite arepa from wherever Venezuelan places around Tampa area. If you're in Town and Country area, West Tampa-ish, I guess more Northwest Tampa. If you're in Town and Country, it's an incredible Venezuelan arepa place on the corner of where is it? It's on Sheldon by the Publix. Oh my goodness, what's the other road there? It's the corner of Sheldon and you know what? I'm gonna scream.
They're screaming at you in their cars right now. They're like,
Yeah,
"It's right there, Carlos."
I'm gonna tweet it out. It's fantastic. Go get yourself a celebratory one. We got ourselves a second Venezuelan striker. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
There's a world war we're starting 2 Venezuelan strikers at the same time. That's awesome. Latino power. That's fun. Okay, Eureka. That's all I have for time. Anything else?
Nope. Let's get a win. How about that?
We ran long. We talked to Coach Dom. That rhymes.
Yes, we did.
Follow us at RBLR Sports on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, anywhere you get your podcasts. We're there. Anywhere you get your social media content, we're there. I'm at Carlos TP810 on Twitter. Eureka, what about you?
I am at Eureka RBLR. Currently talking about the Denver Nuggets getting their their bottom of their roster going as they're retooling. The Denver Summit have been announced, and I love their branding. So good for the NWSL, good for women's sports. We're looking for WNBA team. Where is either Denver or Tampa Bay? I got 2 chances to get one of these WNBA teams, and we need to figure this out. At Eureka RBLR.
Yeah, like and subscribe to us on all the podcast platforms. We're on Spotify, we're on iHeartRadio, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Google Podcasts. Of course, we're on YouTube. Come check us out, see our pretty faces. And there's another week of Rowdies wins last week. Let's get another one this week. Let's make it back-to-back wins. That'd be nice for you to listen in. Once again, come on, you Rowdies. We miss you, James. Come home soon.
Love you, James.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.